G'day mate, welcome back to Oxygen Not Included with me, Jetty. Today I want to cover refining. So, I have Huey, Dewey and Louie, or Huey, Louie and Dewey here to help me along. And we're going to cover really how refinement works inside Oxygen Not Included. So, first off we're going to start with our rock crusher. Now, our rock crusher is our very, very first early refinement we get. It's fairly simple machine to operate. It only requires 240 watts worth of power, outputs 16,000 duplicate thermal units worth of heat. And if I get one of the guys over here to make some iron ore, we can see this thing in action. The biggest thing with the rock crusher is, because it's so simple, it actually carries significant losses with it. So, as we can see, I'm going to put in 50 kilograms worth of iron, or 100 kilograms worth of iron ore. I'm going to get back 50 kilograms worth of processed iron and 50 kilograms worth of sand after Louis finishes beating the crap out of the system. Now, this is a machine you're going to carry on to for the whole game. But when it comes to actually refining metals, it's not the best way to go. So as you can see, this will do aluminium, it'll do copper, it'll do electrum and pyrite, which you can either get from space or, in my case, I'm in creative mode. Gold, iron, along with thermium and wolframite. So it does do everything, but it's going to carry a loss every single time you use it. Now, you are going to keep hold of this machine for the rest of the game, because you're going to end up using it for poke shell, malt to lime, eggshell to lime, fossil to lime, all those things that you're going to end up using for the whole game, at least until you run out of them, along with salt to table salt. So it is going to have a use no matter what. On top of that, any materials that you don't want, so any of the rocks, any of the stones, technically even insulation, if you go find insulation and really want to convert it to sand, ceramic to sand, you can actually make sand with this machine for more filtration material. In saying that, you can just dig to space and go grab it from space. That's enough of that, Louis. So that's our rock crusher. Now, we do get a better refinement as the game progresses. We actually get the metal refinery. So the metal refinery consumes a lot more power, as you can see. It's almost an extra kilowatt worth of power. It produces the exact same amount of heat output, but it also needs to take a liquid pipe in, a liquid pipe out, and that's actually for coolant. So if I go back here to iron ore again, we can see we're now putting in 100 kilos of iron ore, and we're going to get back 100 kilograms worth of iron, which is great. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. The catch is, into our liquid coolant, I'm going to dump 67.1 kilojoules of heat into that liquid coolant. So in the case of me, the system's saying I'm using polluted water, and it's going to increase the temperature of the polluted water by 32.1 degrees, which is a not insignificant amount of heat I'm dumping into that water. So if we bring up our plumbing overlay, you can see I'm bringing in polluted water at like 34 degrees. It means I'm going to end up taking it out at, 66 degrees Celsius. Which is speed Huey up slightly. And if we look at our liquid output, there we go, 66 degrees. So if I ran it back through the system again, I could add another 30 odd degrees worth of temperature to it, and I wouldn't risk it turning into steam inside the machine or inside the pipes. But that's when I was using iron. If I choose to do iron to steel, on the other hand, I'm now going to add 117 kilojoules worth of heat to that liquid. So my polluted water, I can only run through the system once, providing it's fairly cool to start with, because that is a significant increase in heat. If I was to take in normal water at, I just need normal water at 44 degrees Celsius. 44 degrees Celsius, if I add another 56 to it, that'd bring me up to 100 degrees. I'd really, really risk turning that into steam inside the pipe. So your other alternative is you can run different types of cooling liquid through it. So over here I have one has crude oil running into it. Again, you can see I'm going to add 67.1 kilojoules worth of heat into that liquid. But it's actually going to increase the heat of the crude oil by 79 degrees. So that's a significant increase in temperature over polluted water. But on the flip side, crude oil does give me a couple of advantages. So first off, we're going to look at polluted water. We're going to go over the properties tab. We can see it has a specific heat capacity of 4.179, and it doesn't vaporize till it gets to 120 degrees. So at 120 degrees, it's going to go through some sort of phase change. If we go over crude oil here, we can see its specific heat capacity is much lower. It's only at 1.6, so it doesn't carry as much heat, and therefore that's why the temperature of the crude oil increases by so much when it's actually run through the refinery. But it doesn't have it has a vaporization point of 399 degrees, so 400 degrees. That's a massive, massive, massive difference. It does mean that I can still only run it through the system probably about 3 times, so maybe I've got an extra loop out of crude oil rather than just running polluted water. But on top of that, I actually have a couple of options when I heat up my crude oil first. So over here, you can see I'm taking my crude oil at 32 degrees. I'm outputting 112 degrees, so it's quite toasty now. And then I'm feeding it into my my oil refinery. So if we go to refinement here, we look at the oil refinery. Oil refinery is going to take in 10 kilograms of crude oil. It's going to take in some power, and it's going to give us back 5 kilograms of petroleum. Now that 5 kilograms will be at 75 degrees or hotter if the materials are hotter. Obviously, my materials are hotter. I'm bringing in crude oil at 112 degrees. It's going to come out at roughly 112 degrees. It will have some small amount up and down depending on a whole bunch of factors. On top of that, we're also going to dump some natural gas into the surrounding atmosphere. Obviously, that natural gas, in my case, is going to be like 112 degrees Celsius, so it's going to be quite warm. And again, as with every machine, it's going to dump some sort of heat in that surrounding area. Now, after I've gone from crude oil down to petroleum, you might say, JD, hang on. All you've done is you've converted it from one hot liquid to another hot liquid. I have, but I haven't, because the other thing I've actually done is I've taken in 10 kilograms of crude oil and I've only got back 5 kilograms of petroleum. So I've actually halved the amount of material, which indirectly is going to halve the thermal mass. Can I click on you? Okay, I need to deconstruct that pipe. So a bit of petroleum to click on, that's what we want. So our crude oil has a specific heat capacity of 1.69. Our petroleum has a specific heat capacity of 1.76. So this is why the temperature went down slightly, because this actually has technically a slightly higher specific heat capacity. But on top of that, as I said, I halved the amount of liquid. So I've actually halved the amount of heat I have to deal with. We're just going to get rid of that really quickly. And then the next thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take that petroleum, I'm going to run it into a polymer press. So my petroleum's coming in at a nice balmy 108 degrees Celsius, so it's quite warm to start with. And then in my polymer press, I'm going to convert 833 grams of petroleum into 500 grams worth of plastic. As you can see, it's going to be 75 degrees or hotter if the input materials are hotter. My input materials are hotter, so my plastic is going to be a little bit toasty to start with. But on top of that, I'm going to dump a little bit of steam, which is going to be 200 degrees Celsius, no matter what. That's going to chew a lot of that heat away. A little bit of carbon dioxide. It's going to be 150 degrees or hotter, no matter what. The carbon dioxide actually comes out this gas vent. The steam just gets dumped into the surrounding area. Let's mop that up, and we'll move that plastic over there real quick. Along with that, no matter what, it's going to start. The polymer press actually puts out an insane amount of heat. This is one of those things that I'm probably going to overheat because I just built out a copper and wasn't paying any attention. But if I can get another chunk of plastic out, we should be able to finish showing how this little loop works. Come on, pump. There we go. So everything's on fire. Okay, so my plastic has come out at 73 degrees Celsius. So it's come out much cooler than the petroleum that went in. Again, it has an even higher specific heat capacity of 1.9 compared to our petroleum. On top of that, I've again destroyed a little bit of material as this process has gone along. So I've taken in 10 kilos of crude oil up here to convert it to cool my refinery, whilst I also get some iron out of the process. I've then run it to the oil refinery to then halve the thermal mass by removing half or deleting half the materials, converting my oil into petroleum. I've then taken that petroleum and again consumed a lot of that, or converted a lot of that petroleum. As we can see there, we're taking 833 grams per second of petroleum to give us 500 grams per second of plastic, 8 grams of steam, 8 grams of carbon dioxide. Again, the machine's going to create heat no matter what, but I have each step of the way deleted some heat through the process. So yeah, this is something that I just want to outline to you guys, show you that even though your rock crusher seems like a better option, so you don't have to deal with these hot liquids, you can always remove that along the way. Another one I see commonly is taking in clean water, run it through the metal refinery, and then dumping it straight into your electrolyzers, because no matter what, they're going to output the oxygen at 70 degrees Celsius. If I look at my polluted water down here, it's not quite 70 degrees Celsius, but it's close. Lastly, I have our, which Dewey is quite obediently running over and over and over. Don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep on the ladder. So, last one I actually have is our glass forge. So, our glass forge is really the end of our refinement area. There are a couple of other ones, but we're going to cover them in separate videos. So, the glass forge is basically used for making glass. Who would have thought it? It again consumes a lot of power with a lot of heat output, but the biggest thing with a glass forge is it actually outputs molten glass. So if we go to, you're going to tell me? No, it won't tell me. Okay, so we're going to have to time this correctly. So we take in... No. So we take in 100 kilograms of sand. Oh, we just had a process. And we produce molten glass. So 100 kilograms of sand in to produce 15 kilograms worth of molten glass at 1,730 degrees Celsius. Warm. Just slightly warm. Again, really, really good way to delete heat is take your sand preheated an awful lot. If you're going to put your dupes into atmospheres, etc., you can take that sand and heat it up to a few hundred degrees. Sand actually doesn't really transfer material. Sand doesn't melt until you get to that sort of point where it's going to head towards glass anyway. And if you're heating it up to 1700 degrees, you could just convert 100 kilograms of sand directly to 100 kilograms of glass. Or you could run it through a glass forge and, as always, delete that material. So we're taking in 100 kilograms of sand, converting it to 25 kilograms worth of molten glass, which actually gets pumped through this liquid output. As you can see, I get 10 kilograms of molten glass here, none in the next pipe, but it is extremely hot. Now, with a glass forge, because that liquid is so hot, if you put it in any sort of pipe, it's probably going to break your pipe. In my case, I've actually used insulated pipe with ceramic. So ceramic has an overheat temperature of plus 200 degrees. It is a very, very, very good insulator. Its melting point is 1800 degrees, so it can actually withstand a higher temperature than what the glass is to start with. Has a very, very low thermal conductivity, so it's still a quite balmy 26 degrees Celsius, even though the molten glass is in there at 1700 degrees. And as you can see, hopefully, yep, that was just one little drop of molten glass. We just dumped out that pipe. And as you can see, I have a mesh tile here, and I'm literally just dropping that liquid straight into the floor, into a pool of water. Because glass has a really, really, really low specific heat capacity. On top of that, it's only 25 kilos at a time. So it's a really small amount of liquid that we're actually bringing out of our glass forge. And I'm dumping it into a very, very large thermal tank of water. Now, this could be absolutely anywhere. In my case, stop outputting steam, please. You're being annoying. In my case, I've just got 6 little tiles of water down here, because that's really enough to do quite a significant amount of mass. As you can see, I've already got 1.6k tons down here, and I've only raised the temperature of the water by about 20 odd degrees. So, you know, probably 10 tons worth of glass before you've got to worry about this water overheating. Once it overheats, obviously, all you got to do is empty it out. A couple of ways to do that: drop a pump in it, or just have the jiggers deconstruct the bottom and then replace it, and then get some new water in here and off you go again. Or you could have your polymer press just dump steam in the air, which is then going to come in here and technically cool the area, I think. Yeah, that's technically cool. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. As always, if you liked the video and you thought it was helpful, click the like button and share it with your friends. I would appreciate it. YouTube algorithm would appreciate it as well. Same story, if you like seeing these quick tutorial videos like this, by all means, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye.